The old Milwaukee Road Railroad. My first couple years on the Burlington Northern Railroad, railroading as a brakeman, I do not recall clearly, as it was over 40 years ago, and most of that time I was in La La Land, as I've explained. What I do remember is that just a few months after I hired out, we started hiring a few ex-Milwaukee Road Railroad trainmen and enginemen who were fairly young. Their opinion was that the Milwaukee was on the verge of going underwater, out of business, down the tubes, and they were getting jobs with the BN Burlington Northern before that happened, ahead of all those that were sure to be trying later. When going south from Seattle, Washington to Portland, Oregon, there were some junction points associated with the Milwaukee, one being Black River between South Aurelia and Aurelia that the BN and Milwaukee interchanged at. The Milwaukee ran between Chehalis, Washington and North Portland Junction, about 80 miles on our tracks. When working on the south end, I recall my old head co-workers snickering at the sight of their inferior, older locomotives smoking and struggling along. They went bankrupt in 1980 and thousands of employees were without jobs, but a handful landed on the BN in the Northwest. One of them was a conductor by the name of Mike N., who was very instrumental to me in achieving sobriety. There were many conductors, engineers, and other employees that became truck drivers and among other occupations, but many traveled to wherever they could to work on the railroad. In 1987, a new railroad was formed in Montana, the Montana Rail Link, or the MRL. Just a year or two before I retired, I was working as an Amtrak passenger conductor on the Empire Builder between Spokane, Washington and Seattle, Washington, and we had some Burlington Northern deadheaders we were taking to Wenatchee. And I started talking with one man who was originally off the Milwaukee and had been booming for 35 years from one railroad to the next. Now with a few years on the BN, he was close to retirement as I was. He told me that at the time there was still 20 or so former Milwaukee guys on the Montana Rail Link, the MRL. Then he smiled and said they called it Milwaukee Road Lives.